All right. Today we're going to review just really quickly for our discussion-based assessment or our next assessment that we'll take next week. You will have the option of doing a self-directed story for your assessment. And so, just like last time, there will be a link on our homepage when you come that'll say, take your DBA. When you go, you'll take in that little story. You'll save the last page when you get to the end of the story, and you submit that for your assignment. And that will be the last assignment that will be due in this class. Starting in May, we'll be doing some really fun field trips in Minecraft. So if you haven't already, get your Minecraft on. So today we're going to be talking about line, shape, color, texture, and space. And I just want you to understand what you should know about these elements of art to be successful on your test. And while we talk about them, we're going to make a little drawing today. We're going to color this in a little bit. So the first element we're going to talk about while we color today is going to be um, color. And this image is posted on our weekly modules page. Just like always, you can use this. But it's a simple landscape. And if you want to draw your own, you certainly can. You just want to have some mountains in the background, a little river sort of in the middle, and then we're going to put something in the foreground. You're also going to have a little sun in the background. And so I'm going to choose yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and start coloring my sun in. And I want to talk just a little bit about color. So you should remember that when it comes to color, we have those primary colors. Do you remember what they are? Red, yellow, and blue. And we have those secondary colors, purple, orange, and green. And if you remember, we have warm colors like red, orange, and yellow. And we have cool colors like blue and purple and green. And so you're going to want to know all those different color schemes for your assessment. I'm going to color my background in blue. That's one of those cool colors. All right. You should remember what mixes what to make particular colors. So, for instance, which two primary colors would make purple? And you should know that that's red and blue. Or you should know what two primary colors make green. And that, of course, is blue and yellow. And which two primary colors make orange? Well, that, of course, is red and yellow. So now I've got my background done. So now we're talking about this element of space. When we talk about space, we're talking about how the artist creates that sense of depth within their painting. And the way that we're doing it in this one is we're going to put a foreground, a background, and a middle ground. Those are the areas of space. And if you want to write this on your sheet, you can. But there's a foreground. Oh, let me change my tool so I can see that better. So you can see that better. There's foreground. There's middle ground. And there's background. That is a B. That's a terrible B. Okay. So our foreground is going to be this space here in the front where we don't really have anything yet. The middle ground will sort of be this river. And our background is going to be these mountains and the sky. So the way you can think of this space is what's in front. That's the foreground. What's in the middle? That's, of course, the middle ground. And what's way off in the back? And that, of course, is the background. And those three areas are what help create that sense of space, that this is moving back into a space and back into a depth. I'll color my little mountains in here green. And I'm going to go over this one in the background several times because I want it to be a little darker maybe than this one here on the front. Okay. So there's my trees. And my mountains. I said trees. There's my mountains. I'm going to put a tree in here. Thinking ahead a little bit. I'm going to put my river in. And now I want to start thinking about those textures. Right now I've been using lots of soft textures. I made the soft texture, how things might look or feel of that sky, the soft texture of those mountains. Now I want to create a little bit of texture in this river where I'm going to have some water. So first I'm going to put down a little layer of color here. And I want to make it with my marker. So that's too big. Let's undo that. There we go. And I'm going to make little squiggly marks because I want to give the texture of a little rippling water. Like if you could feel that, you might feel it was rippling water. I'm going to go back and put a little really light water underneath of it with my pastel. And then I'm going to bring some more of those little squiggly lines into my river to create even more texture of that water. And I'm going to use my little pen here. I'm going to go with a little darker blue. So making little squiggly lines. That's going to create that texture of the little ripples on the water. And that's my little stream going by, my little creek in my middle ground. When we talk about shape, we're talking about those geometric shapes like the sun is a circle, but also organic shapes. If you'll notice, those mountains are organic shapes. Those are things that look like they belong in nature. So I'm going to do my grass again using some cool textures. And the first thing I'm going to do is real lightly put down a little bit of green here. But that does not have the texture of grass, does it? Not really. So we're going to use some of these little vertical lines to start creating some grass texture. Now, I'm going to turn my pencil on and start using it with a little, I'm going to turn my size up just a little bit so I can see it a little better. There we go. And I'm going to start making those little bitty, remember we called them hatch marks. We talk about line, how we can use line to create texture. And that's what we're doing now. I'm making those little lines, those little hatch marks. We call those hatch marks when we make those straight little lines. Going up and down, and now I'm really starting to get that texture. I want an even darker green. Let's go pick my custom. I'm going to pick a really dark green. All right. Ooh, now I can see that texture of that grass, those blades of grass. That texture, it looks like I could feel it. All right. Now we're beginning to start to put our final touches. I want to put a tree in my foreground. So I'm going to choose my pen tool and my marker tool and a brown that I like. I think I like that brown right there. And I'm going to make a little tree right over here on this right side. Now, this is going to be opaque, which means when I draw over what I've drawn before, I'm going to see my tree and not see the things through because this is opaque. And I've got my little tree here in my foreground. Now I want to make some texture of bark, so I'm going to choose my little pen tool and make some little squiggly marks and give that bark some texture. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose my green and I am going to use my marker, turn it down. I'm going to make squiggly marks. They're going to make my tree leaves. Look at this. And every time I make those little squiggly marks, it starts making little spaces, and in those spaces is where those little leaves begin to look like they take place. And this tree is in my foreground. It's going to be the thing that's closest to me in this drawing. I'm going to choose a couple of different colors of green so that it'll add a little depth, a little more space. Some things going further back. And I'm going to pick an even darker green to add even more depth and space to my little tree. All right, now what you draw and how you draw yours might be a little different, but I want you to understand that we've used line to create the little marks around the sun, to create the shapes, like the circle that is the sun here. I'm gonna put my little red marker on here to emphasize so we can point out where we've used these things. There's that circle. That is a geometric shape. We used line to make all of our great organic shapes also, like the tree. It's organic. We've got the middle ground, the foreground, which is our grass and our tree here. So this is our foreground. We have our middle ground, which is the trees and that river that goes through the painting. And then we have our background, which is that sky and the sun and so forth in the background. We have used color. We used those warm colors in the sun. We used the cool colors in the grass and the trees and the leaves. We created textures using lines. We used lines to create those little grass blades and those little hatch marks. We used squiggly lines to create the tree leaves. And we created space by using that foreground, that middle ground, and that background. If you know all of this, you're going to do just fine for your final discussion-based assessment. Guys, have a great day and good luck with your test. I look forward to seeing you in our Minecraft field trips coming up in about 2 weeks. So get your Minecraft loaded and start playing it so you know how to play when it comes time to do the field trips. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.